And one of your recent articles did talk about you turned down an offer at Instagram, which is again definitely a step up if you see in terms of workspaces. Can you talk us through your mindset that you had before you had the offer? That means you applied for that offer, and what did really change for you from your perspective once you had the offer and you turned down? So what was the difference between these two mindsets over there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the Instagram opportunity came kind of out of the blue. I mean, a recruiter reached out to me a few years into my tenure at Fair. At that point, I already had experience and started managing PMs. So I had more credibility, I guess, in the real world. And so they reached out, and I was interested, mostly curious. I wasn't thinking of leaving the company or joining another company. But in the interview process, I actually was pretty impressed by the people that I met. And the specific team that they wanted me to work on was the Instagram Reels team, which, of course, is
Mhm.
still relatively new. Came as kind of a response to the rise of TikTok. And so I became more emotionally invested along the process, which I suppose is also the goal, right? Of when you're interviewing a candidate, you want to make them feel more excited over the process. And so towards the end, they gave me an offer. I think it was around $300,000 for an L5 PM role, which is a specific level the overall within the overall org. And I did some research. I wanted to do some benchmarking to figure out, is this a good offer? Is this not a good offer? And I'm fortunate to know a lot of people in the company and know people who have information on what's a good offer, what is it. And I quickly realized that this is actually pretty much like on the lower end of the spectrum. And I was like, oh, I mean, there's definitely room for negotiation if I'm going to take this offer,
Yeah.
especially because at Fair, it's a private company, and most of the my compensation is tied up in illiquid stock options, but they're worth a lot, especially at this point. And so I would be walking away from quite a bit of money. And it's usually on the company who's trying to win you over. It's on them to make it easy to walk away from your present situation. And so that was how the whole kind of, I guess, story started, where I was like, okay, I'm going to start negotiating. And I was very upfront with them around like how much I was leaving behind and what it would take for me to, bite the bullet and join the team. And the first thing I learned was at a bigger company like Facebook, like Instagram, they have a whole team, I think it's called the compensation review team, where their whole job is to put checks and balances in place for these negotiations. And so they also do their research. They have a lot more data than I do, and they figure out what is the appropriate amount to give. And so it was a lot of back and forth with people that I had, never even met. It's kind of like a black box. And we went back and forth to the point where I think we got to like $350,000. And I was like, look, I think the line that I'm going to draw is 400K. I will sign today. And the reason why I said that was because I was ready to sign, but I wanted a figure that would make me feel comfortable walking away from something that I also knew was really good, which is my current set of options. And so I was very explicit. And the hiring manager was pretty excited about it. Was like, okay, let's do it. We're going to make this happen. And over the weekend, I think they were talking about how to make it happen. And then they came back to me and finally said, look, like this isn't possible because your current company is private. And so we don't value your stock options in the same way. So it was all these rules that nobody could control, including the people who wanted me to be on the team. And I think I finally just like realized that if it's this hard to make something as simple as this happen, it just isn't really. It's not the kind of place that I would be happy in. I'm more of a no BS person, and so I think all of the rules and all of that stuff is just not a good fit for me. And I was actually kind of relieved to understand that, because it's better to know that before you join than to join and think you're getting into something that really isn't what you actually want. So that's kind of how the whole thing went
so,
down.
so so I guess in a way, were you concerned about the kind of freedom that you would get as a product manager while working over there? You would lose what you have at Fair right now. So is it kind of the freedom that you would get as in executing your decisions would be limited if it's limited that much in the compensation area over
Yeah,
there?
that's exactly right. I think it was. it was a window into what life would be like on the
Right.
inside. And, people who clearly have a lot of sway and are hiring people can't make certain calls,
Hmm.
unfortunately. Then who am I to be able to make the call and change things, right? Like, I'm not going to be able to do that. So,
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense.